Hello, welcome to my channel Conscious Growing. I'm Matthias. And today I want to talk about the matter of fact that it feels like a battle at times when you going through your recovery path, when you deal with chronic symptoms, when you deal with anxiety, fear, strong emotions, and so on. And so if you have been on this channel for a while already, then you might have recognized already that from my perspective it's all about repressed emotions, and we want to learn to allow these emotions. But then in most of the cases when we end up on this path, and this usually happens after a big event like a loved one passed away, I lost a job, I got a virus, and in most of the cases it was just the last event that kind of pushed you too far over your baseline, your boundaries, your way of dealing with life and dealing with inner and outer stress. But in general, the underlying issue is or are these suppressed emotions in most of the cases. So it was for me. And I can confirm that it took me a while to come to the point where I found that this emotional work was the most important and at the same time the most difficult part. And for quite a long period of time, it felt like I had one foot on the brake and the other one was in hyperarousal. Tired but wired, we all know this. So on one hand, the body, the system was exhausted, and then at the same time there was this overdrive, there was this constant adrenaline, cortisol in my body. When I woke up in the morning, during the day, I had these periods of intense adrenaline rushes mainly. And these adrenaline rushes, they caused a lot of symptoms, but it took me a while to understand what is going on here. Because when this happens, it's nothing other than a stress response. So, in other words, I came to a point in my life where I was able to deal with these unpleasant sensations. But as everyone else on this path, in the beginning, of course, I tried to find solutions, techniques, also supplements. I changed my diet. I tried all kinds of stuff. But whatever I did, after all, there was sometimes some small reliefs, but generally speaking, there was not so much change because I suffered. I suffered from the pains. I suffered from the fatigue. I suffered from these unbearable emotions. And I realized how easily I was becoming sad for just simple issues. And I was recognizing that after all the research I've done, that this is just a hypersensitive nervous system. And when this happens, all the inner stresses and outer stresses, they have much more weight, they have much more influence. And do you know this feeling, like feeling on edge all the time? And or you feel like a pressure cooker at times? So this is how it was for me. And in the very beginning, I thought, okay, I just have to calm down my nervous system. Just calm down. And I had all kinds of attempts and techniques and listened to podcasts and other YouTubers to find the magic pill. But then at a certain point, I realized there is no magic pill. Yeah, to calm down can temporarily work. And here I want to be very clear about something, because there's nothing against trying to calm yourself down, to guide yourself, to coach yourself through this process. It's very important. But what I observed, that there's one missing link sometimes. It's around brain retraining, and it's also around this emotional processing thing, because people try everything. I tried everything, but I was avoiding the main thing. And the main thing was to allow my emotions, to feel what's currently there, to feel the anger, to feel the sadness, to feel the despair, to feel the fear, the strong fear, to face it, to sit with it, to let it be there while I was going back to life. And it took me a while to see it as something that wants to protect you. But then on the other hand, it has two sides for me. And this is a very subtle part about it, because on one hand, there are all these programs out there saying, okay, this is a false alarm. Anxiety is a false alarm. And I totally agree with this aspect. But also there are some habitual patterns we developed. And these habitual patterns didn't start when we entered into this sensitized state, in this state with symptoms and emotions and everything. It started much earlier, but we didn't recognize it. We were not aware of it. But then later on, we might see, and while we are on this path, this process, we might see that, oh my gosh, this really started earlier, much earlier. These are old patterns. And so because it's, as far as I see it, it's not only to say, this is a false alarm and I'm retraining my brain. This is one aspect about it. But the other aspect is we want to establish new habits, healthier patterns. Some people say, I want to go back to where I was. And allow me the question, is it really that what you want? Because if you look a little bit deeper, you might see that this old you and the behaviors of this old you was creating these unhealthy patterns, and therefore the symptoms, the anxiety you're dealing with right now. And of course, that's not a blame, because I would say we established these patterns in our childhood. And there were survival mechanisms. We survived. We tried to survive in a difficult, sometimes abusive environment. So we struggled through these periods. And now, and possibly we established these habits all through our lives until we came to this point, until we come to the point where we realize this is not serving us anymore. These old patterns are not serving us anymore. But this old energy is there now. And it's for a good reason. It's there to teach yourself that this is not necessary anymore, on one hand, but also you want to retrain your brain, you want to show your scared brain that the world is safe. And get me right, if we look on the global situation, when we are fearful, when we are in this sensitized state, then of course to listen to the news, all the wars that's going on, crazy politicians leading the globe and so on, and people suffer, people are scared. We are not the only ones who are scared. There are many, many, many out there who are scared and lost, don't know what to do. But what's needed is we have to do our own job. We have to deal with what's there right now. And we are the only ones who can retrain our scared amygdala. Nobody else can do it for us. Not watching thousands of videos through the recovery will make it in the end, because at a certain point we have to face the unpleasant stuff. And it's not about to think about it, because we are all habitually used to be up in our heads. We want to solve from here. But anxiety and chronic symptoms, aka suppressed emotions, are the main factor. So therefore we want to establish new healthy patterns with ourselves, patience, and also the wonderful opportunities to see, what do I really want in life? Do I want to be the machine I have been in the past? The one that functioned only, fighting through life? Or do I want to start feeling my needs? And to reach this point, to feel the own needs, we have to empty this bucket first. Because when the bucket is full, we can't feel our needs. We only can feel them when the bucket gets more empty. And it gets more empty through allowing what's there, what's here in this moment. Am I sad? Yes, maybe. So I don't think about my sadness. That's what we usually do. I think about my sadness. Sadness. Sadness is... And then we immediately start to judge and say, sadness is not what I want. I want to have fun. I want to go out with friends and family. I want to have fun again. And And then we try this maybe, but we don't feel fun. As hard as we try, it doesn't work. So why is that? It's because we haven't done our job properly. And this means I allow to feel. I allow to feel the most unpleasant stuff in me. I just allow it. I just let it be there. Yeah, in some moments we are able to, maybe we just sit with it, allow the body to be as loose and limp as possible in this moment. And in this, with this kind of attitude, we retrain the brain. This is a part of it. And the other part is to let it happen. Just observe what's going on. Allow the sadness, allow the anger, allow the rage even, allow intense sensations. So the subconscious is always listening. How is she or he responding? And so what became very clear to me is the very attempt to calm down doesn't work, because this is an attempt to get rid of what's happening. It's a form of bypassing. It's another form of suppressing. And I know this isn't easy to swallow and to accept, but I deeply believe that that's what it is. So we want to go one step further. We want to start allowing these unpleasant sensations. In best case, we are even curious. So if we start to get curious, and even if it's just for a short amount of time in the beginning, this is already a huge step, because it's quite likely that before we just went away, we avoided all these unpleasant stuff, and now we are facing, we are saying, okay, this is anger, this is here in my chest like a wild animal, lots of adrenaline, lots of even pain, tension, and we allow to be with it for some time in the beginning, maybe short moments, maybe many times in the beginning when it's really strong. And like this, we create new neural pathways. We just do the opposite, what we have done our whole life. Usually, here's a problem and here's a solution. And so we go, try to figure it out, solve it. And in many fields of life, it works. But in this specific field, in this field of suppressed emotions, of anxiety, of symptoms, experiencing symptoms, it doesn't work that way. Because it's like there is something in a high arousal state, there is something in a survival state, and then we come with our minds and our thoughts and our ideas, and we want to solve it. And this creates more stress to this part in us that's stressed already. So we have to learn to do the opposite. We have to start to face it. We have to start to be okay with this unpleasant stuff. And there's science about it. It's not something I'm talking about. This is not just out of the blue, and this is not only my own experience. This is also science-based, because this is neuroplasticity, and there are enough researches about it in the meantime. But it's not about to make a big thing out of it, you know, like from morning to evening to work on it, to establish skills and so on. It's much easier, because it's just about let it happen. And when we are honest to myself, and I had to be honest to myself at a certain point, even I had all these ideas, even I knew intellectually how to deal with it, I wasn't able to implement it, because I was still listening to videos. I still was searching for the reassurance from others, and I did everything to avoid to feel my own emotions. And that kept me in the cycle. And yes, there were better moments and better periods, and gradually I was making progress. But this last piece of the puzzle I was avoiding, even though it was right in front of me. And you might understand what I mean, what I'm talking about. Because you're suffering, and your own suffering is not the enemy. Your suffering is pointing to you to something to handle differently, to face it, to be it, to allow it, and not intellectually, not from the neck up. You do it by feeling it. And then sometimes people ask, what do you mean by feeling it? What does it mean to feel it? What should I feel? The sensations in the body? Or and what about my thoughts all the time? So how can I deal with them? So it's also part of the allowance. It's to say, okay, the thoughts are produced. These thoughts are produced when we're in a survival state. This is natural. Imagine you were you meet a bear in the woods, and the bear is running after you. You will have lots of crazy thoughts. How to survive? To do I climb on this tree? Do I fight with the bear? Am I able to kill him? Yeah. Fast thoughts in this moment. This is the survival mode. And for some reason, and the reason is clear, we are in this survival mode, and we have to accept that we are. And this, in this case, is not caused by the bear or the tiger or any other wild animal. It's caused by the amount of stress we experienced our whole life, and that this is still in the system, and these old emotions are still in the system, and they want to find relief. And the only way to give relief is to allow them, to let them be there. And we don't need to like them. They are not pleasant. It's not about getting better to be with panic or anxiety or pain. It's not about that, but it's about to reduce the resistance, to say, okay, this is first fear, this thing comes up, this out of nowhere I have this adrenaline, out of nowhere I have these pains, out of nowhere I have these thoughts. So there's no other way than to say, okay, let it be, let it happen. And then instead of coping, instead of micromanaging, because this will always show the brain, I send these messages of protection, of danger, and this person is reacting like that there is a threat. So we are confirming, and as long as we are confirming, we will stay in this cycle. And this is a habit we want to break with new healthy patterns on one end. And then on the other hand, we want to allow everything that's there, the most unpleasant stuff. And the good news is we are able to do it. We can create this space. We can be the observer. We can be curious about what's going on in the system while it happens. We can watch it with some distance. We don't need to identify with these kind of strong sensations. And when I say strong sensations, I include the physical symptoms, of course. But yeah, in some moments we are not able to feel other than these physical symptoms. So the job is to be okay with these physical symptoms, as neutral as possible, to allow them. It's a storm, and as we know, every storm passes. So we allow the storm to be there. And here's the big difference, and this is a question I can ask here. Do you want to get rid of the storm? If yes, you have a problem. Because then, if you want to get rid of the storm, you are resisting. But it's something else that you say, okay, the storm is there. It's there anyway, and it comes unannounced. It just happens. So we have to let it be there. But yes, of course, our mental attitude and our mindset matters. Of course, it matters. And of course, we can manage, we can coach ourselves through this. We know we survived it 100 times and more. We know it's unpleasant. We know that it will always pass. We can reassure ourselves from this experience, not from the scared part who said, oh, I hope this passes. I hope tomorrow I'm better. I hope in 10 minutes I'm better. This is not the right place to look from. The right place is to say, I can handle this. It's a shitstorm. It feels horrible at times. It feels like I'm dying. Horrible, yes. But it's not dangerous. It's just old sensations that are acting themselves out. And the more we allow this, the easier and the faster it passes. These storms passes. And ideally we can identify what's underneath. Sadness, I'm sad. I'm allowing the sadness without any story, just the sadness. It's okay. Sadness is a human expression everyone has. Why should I fight sadness? And then maybe the next day or even a moment later, I feel angry about everything. Did you recognize that sometimes when you feel this strong anger in you and you see, this anger right now has nothing to do with the current situation. Nobody bothers me right now. I don't have stress with my partner right now. Don't have stress with friends. But I feel this immense anger. And therefore, it's clear that this anger has nothing to do with you now. But it's there energetically. But it's old at the same time. So, therefore, it doesn't make any sense to make a story out of it if this is some anger from the past, for whatever reason. And when you see some connections, that's all right. It's good. You see, yeah, my mother, my father, they were like this, and this is this anger. This is related to what I experienced in the past. This is helpful, of course, because then you can connect the dots, and this helps. But on the other hand, it's not necessary. What's necessary is that we show ourselves that we're able to experience it now, in the here and now, that we can be as neutral as possible. And I say as neutral as possible because we don't need to be perfect in this. But through repetition, because these storms, they will come again, and every time they come, you can create this safe space for yourself. Your body is the safe space for it. For some others, it's helpful to see there is space. I'm space. So it can appear in the space where I am right now, in this room, outside of this room. And in this space, I observe unpleasant sensations. And furthermore, I'm not judging the sensations. Yes, they suck. They suck a lot. And we wonder what is going on here. But all these what ifs and trying to figure out what's going on doesn't lead nowhere. It just brings us to rumination. It just brings us to being too much involved. And we want to learn to be less involved and to let this unpleasant stuff, these unpleasant emotions run their own course. And the more you practice this, the more you will realize that, or you will realize the emotion behind. You will easier come to the point where you see, this is sadness, this is fear, highly unpleasant, but I can allow this fear. And then sooner or later it passes. Sometimes after a few minutes, sometimes it takes half a day, sometimes it takes a full day, we don't know. But the more we can practice this indifferent attitude, the more results we will have. And the results will come. And you might have symptoms and you might have fears right through the end of your recovery path, whatever that means. But I mean, when your symptoms leave you or when you don't care anymore, this is the end of recovery. Because you might have some panic attacks in the future, or some unpleasant moments. Again, this is life. We are humans, but it all breaks down to the attitude: how do we deal with difficult emotions? How much are we able to allow what's there right now, right in front of us? And that's what matters. And that's how we build up resilience. We don't run away from our own selves anymore. And on the other hand, from here, we are not waiting until it gets better. We build our future in every moment, with every new response, with every healthy pattern. We build our future. And this is in our own hands. Because nothing against therapy, but if you go to therapy and hope that there's someone telling you where you have to lead your life, this person always speaks from its own perspective, and they think what's good for themselves must be good for you in the worst case. I don't want to go too deep into this right now, but it's a possibility. So the golden path is to figure out on your own, to allow it on your own. And early on I was talking about the difference between I try to calm down the storm. When I try to calm down the storm will be stronger. But if I'm able to calm myself through the storm, it's a different story. And this is what I mean by have this self-talk of I went through this endless times. I'm able to manage it. This will pass. And I know that this non-resistant attitude with time will bring me to the other side. That's the real meaning of it all. You haven't got this to cope with yourself because you were trying to cope with yourself all your life, and coping can have two sides. To cope with a situation, with a difficult situation, and to coach yourself through this in a mature attitude is wonderful. But if you just cope to use Google, to have reassurance from others, to avoid to feel these things, then this coping has another meaning, and then it's not bringing you forward in life. And this difference is very important to see. So I'm going to end up here for today, and as always, I hope that these insights and this sharing is helpful for some of you. And if it is, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done yet. Please also leave a comment. I will answer you for sure. And yeah, and even if you just like the video, this is already helpful to let this channel grow. And I would say, take good care of yourself, and I see you in the next one.